Hello and welcome to the PEMpodcast, Psychic Eye Mystery Podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Laurie, with my fabulous sister, Sandy, coming at you this Sunday evening, first Sunday in November.
In the dark.
In the dark. Yes, exactly. I was just telling Sans that I always look forward. I personally really look forward to the daylight savings ending, right? Right? Or it ends.
You
right?
like standard time.
Yeah, standard time. I always look forward to it because you get that extra hour to sleep in. And I was sick again last week, and Sandy and I have now figured out that I'm allergic to crab meat, because that's the only consistent thing that has just me laid out for a couple of days. Not pretty. But anyway, so I was telling her, I was so looking forward to getting an extra hour of sleep because it's been an exhausting couple of days, and woke up at my usual time. So hour just gone. Goodbye. Sayonara. See you later. Oh well, there's always tomorrow.
Usually the time change affects people by like Tuesday. Like if it happens on a Sunday, by Tuesday it catches up to you. I get so much
more affected by the one in the spring. You love the one in the spring though.
No, I do not.
Oh, I thought you did.
No.
Oh, I thought you did because it gives you an extra more daylight. Right?
I like the more daylight, but no, that time change tends to whack me for a solid week.
That one? Yeah, I hate that one. That one's the devil. This one is nice. I like this one. Anything where I get more sleep is usually a really good thing. And the sad thing, Sans, is that we work for ourselves. Like there's no one demanding that we clock in, early.
No, there's not. But it's in my head, time to make.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right? 5:30. I'm up.
There's a lot to do every day.
Yeah. Even, and even my gym changed their open gym hours, and I could have an extra hour there. And I feel like that's wasted time. Like I should be productive. You and I are just machines.
Energizing bunnies. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I turned in the fourth book. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Turned in the fifth book of Cat Gilly series.
Oh, right. Because the fourth one's just came out. So the fifth one is written
Wednesday.
Yeah. Right? Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm 3/4 of the way. I should be finishing up the sequel to When, called Whenever. I had to this week. So excellent. I'm on roll for 5 books this year. So I'm really excited about that. Fans are when will we see them? Oh, a couple of years.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe sooner.
If I self-publish them, you'll see them very soon. If I don't self-publish them, it'll be 2 years. So sorry, that's the timetable. That's what you got to do. Anyway, okay. So I thought let me just do book promo and then we'll talk about anecdotes. So since we got all the way through Abby, I thought I'd start on the Cat Gilly one since I just finished the 5th book in that series. So this is the Coach to Death introduction to the Cat Gilly Life Coach Mysteries. Abby's sister is named Cat. This is a spinoff of that series. And Cat is newly divorced. She is living in the Hamptons, and murder and mayhem follow her. So she and Gilly become kind of amateur sleuths. They are terrible at it. They really don't solve any crimes. They really don't.
I thought they did.
No, they stumble into the killers, but like they're always wrong.
Okay, that's true. It'd be kind of like if I were Cat, which I'm not, because I don't live in the Hamptons. I don't murder and mayhem do not follow me. Right? Murder and mayhem do not follow me. And I'm always wrong on these cases that you and I present. I'm like, oh, clearly, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, no.
Nope. I think we both agree though on this one.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we both agree on this one. So that's a good one. Okay. So in lieu of an anecdote, I thought of the first book in the series. Just as a quick wrap up, Cat moves to the Hamptons. Her neighbor is murdered. She is blamed for the crime. And hijinks ensue. Anecdote. Since we are all on pins and needles, tenterhooks, about the midterms, I thought that I would take just a couple minutes to explain or go over what it is that I see for the midterms. You all know my politics. If you don't, I lean left. And I'm just going to say that I lean left. I always have, I always will. I will never, ever, ever vote for a Republican. Sorry, I just won't. I really believe in power of the people. So proletariat. Anyway, so this one, was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth as far as who I thought would come out the winner. I believe that all of the polls are kind of wrong, but I don't feel that they're so far off that we're going to see a blue tsunami. We're certainly not going to see a red wedding. For all you Game of GOT fans out there, it's not going to be a red wedding. I do believe that the GOP will hold or will take the House, but it will be really tight. I think that the margin's only going to be about five seats. I don't believe they will take the Senate. I haven't thought they would take the Senate. I really think the Dems will actually add seats to the Senate. I think that'll produce 2 years of gridlock. Nothing new, which is really just beyond disappointing. It's just disappointing. But anyway, so we go through 2 years of gridlock, but then if you're leaning left, you'll be happy at this news. So what I see is Gen Z is just starting to realize their power, and they are starting to figure out how the system works. And they are starting to see that they can organize far more effectively than any other generation, and that they can link to each other far better than any other generation. So their power is just starting to take root and catch fire. And it's my belief that in the next 2 years, they will come out in droves and in force. They are driven by, obviously, a woman's right to bodily autonomy. And they are also driven by the unfairness of the system right now, especially the judicial system. So I think that in 2024, it will be a referendum, not on Joe Biden, but actually on the far right and how extremist it has gotten. And there will be a significant reining in is what I can see. I personally do not believe that Joe Biden will either be the nominee or will run. I don't think he'll run. I'm just thinking that I know he said he will, but I don't see it. I don't think the former guy is going to run either. I think that he will be in the jail or headed to jail very soon. I do see indictments coming down, raining, like it's literally going to rain, not literally, but it's going to start raining indictments. Kash Patel has turned in the Mar-a-Lago case. And that is, to me, when I read that was death knell. So he's going bye-bye. So I think it's going to be two men again. In 2024, I am kind of leaning towards Buttigieg, but I don't think that he's going to be, I think he'll be VP. I think he'll be chosen to be VP. I don't know that he'd be chosen as the primary frontrunner. And I've always kind of sensed that about Buttigieg, that he would make it into the executive suite. I don't know. I have sort of, tossed up in the air, maybe Gavin Newsom, but he is like, no, I'm not running. I'm not. Beto, I don't know. I don't know. But it feels kind of like a Beto, Gavin Newsom sort of person. That's who it kind of feels like, someone who has a really strong ability to effectively communicate a message. And that's really what we've lacked and what we need. And I think that Gen Z is starting to coalesce around a common message, and that is going to be fairly strong. And we're going to see, I think, a big push towards a more center progressive side in the next 2 years. So get out there and vote, please, 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 on Tuesday. Please go vote. I do care who you vote for, obviously, but it's so important to express your civil duty. You really owe it to this country, really, to get involved in that tiny, tiny way. Please, please, please get out and vote, and take a friend and call a friend and get them to vote too. So we'll see how it goes. I've been writing on a lot of other stuff that I predicted 6 months ago, the Queen, the housing market, a lot. So we'll see. I waited until this morning to kind of weigh in, and it's been Dems in this hand and GOP in this hand as far as the House and the Senate goes. And I just keep feeling GOP in the House and then solid Dems in the Senate. So it'll be split. Good luck. Well, gridlock for 2 more years, which is really unfortunate. And just stupid shit. Just stupid shit. That doesn't matter. Heaven forbid we should fucking legislate for a change, but whatever. Anyway, I'm not running it, so I'm just voting. Anyway, all right. So Sandy, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you.
This is a fascinating case, and I will comment at length at the end.
Okay. So this is, again, part of our Men Behaving Badly series, and this is about Dr. Robert Neulander. Up until Monday, September 17th, 2012, Dr. Robert Neulander and his wife, Leslie, of 28 years, lived a seemingly blissful life. The doctor was a well-known gynecologist in the Syracuse, New York area, and he and Leslie lived in a grand 8,000 square foot suburban home with their 2 children, son Ari and daughter Jenna. The couple's family also included Emily and Brian, who were Robert's children from his first marriage. On the morning of that fateful day, Robert went out for a jog at nearby Green Lakes Park, and upon his return, he prepared and then brought Leslie her morning coffee. After placing it on the nightstand next to her side of the bed, he left the bedroom as he heard his wife turn on the shower in the ensuite bathroom. However, after an hour had passed, out of concern that Leslie hadn't emerged from the shower, Robert entered the bathroom, only to find his wife lying on the shower floor, bleeding profusely from a head injury. Presuming Leslie had suffered a nasty fall while bathing, Robert started CPR and then grew frantic, so he reached for the bathroom phone to call 911, but that phone was out of service. Robert then raced to his daughter's room, hurriedly explained what had happened, and urged her to call 911 for help. At 8:25 a.m., 23-year-old Jenna Neulander began her frantic exchange with the 911 operator, which was captured in a recording. Jenna to 911. Okay, my mother, I don't know if she's breathing. She's laying on the ground in the shower. At this point, Robert declared that the lighting in the bathroom wasn't bright enough, so he lifted Leslie up and began to move her toward the bedroom. Jenna declared to the 911 operator, Dad, put her down. Her neck might be broken. Robert then put Leslie down just outside of the bathroom and proceeded to give his wife mouth-to-mouth resuscitation before moving her again next to their bed to continue CPR. Jenna, during her 911 call, said, Daddy, don't move her. Daddy, stop moving her, please. She then said to the operator, is someone coming? And the operator said, yes, they are on their way. Jenna said, my mom, my mom, my mom. And the 911 operator responded, is she moving? Jenna? And Jenna was last heard saying, oh my God. Within minutes, paramedics arrived at the house, and sadly, due to the severity of her head wound, 61-year-old Leslie Neulander was pronounced dead at the scene. Also on site was DeWitt, New York Police Sergeant Scott Capral. The sergeant was surprised to find Leslie's body on the bedroom floor close to the bed and not in the shower or on the bathroom floor. Capral then took note of Leslie's blood in different areas of the bedroom, much of which was pooled on the rug and spattered on the wall next to the bed, which immediately raised his suspicions. Sergeant Capral wanted answers as to why there was blood all over the Neulander's bedroom. But as he questioned the doctor about the incident, Robert had answers for every inquiry. He told investigators that Leslie had a history of vertigo, which may have caused her to lose her balance while showering. He went on to explain that after finding Leslie on the shower floor, he carried her out of the bedroom some 60 feet into the bedroom where he could more adequately perform CPR. Robert's step-by-step explanation of his life-saving efforts fit the pattern of where the different pools of blood were discovered in the bedroom. The on-scene medical examiner found that Leslie's injuries matched up with Dr. Neulander's account and ruled her death a tragic accident due to hitting her head on the built-in shower bench. The official report later read, blunt force head injuries due to the fall from standing height. Despite the medical examiner's findings and Jenna's witness statement, Capral found the scene to be uncharacteristic with a fall in the shower and vowed to continue his investigation. Leslie's death shook the local community. She was regarded as a wonderfully vivacious, energetic, and unpretentious woman. Known to be very generous, the Neulanders donated both their time and money to local causes, which seemed fitting with Robert's professional standing as one of the most highly regarded gynecologists and obstetricians in the Syracuse area. Robert was also beloved by his patients as he exuded a knowledgeable, compassionate, caring, and supportive demeanor when interacting with his clients. Among those that knew the Neulanders best, compassion was a defining value for this tight-knit family. As such, Robert and Leslie seemed like the perfect couple. However, investigators would soon discover that not all was as it seemed with this picture-perfect marriage. 11 months prior to Leslie's death, Robert was working at Faxon St. Luke's Hospital in Utica, delivering about half the number of babies he did years earlier at his own practice in Camillus. He left Faxon St. Luke's in 2012 due to an ongoing battle with an insurance company, and as a result was not working at the time of Leslie's death. Investigators then learned that the Neulanders' marriage had become strained in recent years, partly due to the decline of Robert's once thriving practice. 6 months after Leslie's death had been ruled an accident, the investigation into her death began to pick up steam. Prompted by rumors about the Neulanders' marriage and Robert's failing practice, Dr. Mary Jumbellick, the now retired county chief medical examiner and happened to be a friend of the Neulanders, got involved in the case voluntarily in hopes of putting all the negative speculation about her friends to rest. However, after examining the case files, Dr. Jumbellick found that the severity of Leslie's injuries to be incompatible with the explanation behind her accident. Specifically, Leslie had suffered a penetrating wound toward the back of her head that was so severe, blood had pooled into her eyes. This type of injury typically presents following an auto accident, a fall from a 20-story building, a beating, and/or blunt force trauma by a heavy object. Given the severity of Leslie's injuries, Dr. Jumbellick felt obligated to report to the DA that was her opinion. Leslie's death was a homicide and due to blunt force head trauma from an assault, not a fall. With renewed interest from the district attorney's office, police revisited the death scene to collect more evidence from the now unoccupied Neulander home, which was in the process of being sold. They discovered Leslie's blood all over the back of the master bed headboard, as well as blood spatter on the window blinds located behind the bed. Investigators also searched the apartment that Robert, now retired from his practice, was living in. To protect himself from investigators, Robert retained one of the best criminal defense lawyers in the area, Edward Mencken, who assured the DA that his client had nothing to hide. When Robert voluntarily sat for an interview with prosecutors and investigators, he acknowledged that he and Leslie had thought about a trial separation and were sleeping in separate bedrooms at the time of her death. He went on to share that despite the issues in their marriage, their family life was a peaceful one. The night before she died, the couple, along with their son Ari and daughter Jenna, had a family dinner at a friend's house. At the end of their visit, Ari headed back to his college dorm, and Jenna went back home with her parents. Robert stated, "We said goodnight to one another, and we loved each other, and everybody kissed and went to their respective bedrooms." Based upon the circumstantial evidence, District Attorney Bill Fitzpatrick formulated a different premise about Leslie's death, that instead of an accident, Leslie was the victim of abuse and was murdered by her husband. Fitzpatrick theorized that hours before Jenna's 911 call, Robert assaulted Leslie in the bedroom and then likely chased her into the bathroom where he forcefully struck her head on the shower bench. To plausibly explain the blood trail from where the assault took place in the bedroom, Robert staged finding Leslie in the shower and used Jenna as a witness to his efforts to carry Leslie into the bedroom to perform CPR. As for the blood spatter in the bedroom, the DA believed that the violence took place before the sun was up, so Robert didn't notice the blood behind the headboard or on the window blinds. The DA also theorized that after murdering his wife, Robert changed the bed sheets and went out for a run at Green Lake, during which time he tossed both the murder weapon and Leslie's bed sheets into the water. The DA's theory was bolstered by a statement made by the Neulanders' long-term housekeeper, claiming that the bed sheets on Leslie's bed were not the sheets she used to make up Leslie's bed on Friday before her death. Nearly 2 years after Leslie's death, and with circumstantial evidence now mounting, the medical examiner changed his original report from accidental death to homicide, and Dr. Robert Neulander was subsequently charged with her murder. But Robert's family, including his children and Leslie's sister and brother, staunchly believed that the DA had it all wrong and stood united behind the doctor. In March of 2015, 2.5 years after the death of Leslie Neulander, Robert's 3-week trial took place. With no weapon and no clear-cut motive to make their case for murder, prosecutors focused on the blood spatter evidence collected from the headboard, the nightstand, the blinds above the bed, and the bedroom south wall, which is about 7 feet from the bed. The defense had its own blood spatter expert who testified that it was not possible to determine if Leslie Neulander's death was an accident or homicide because the investigation had been flawed. Some of the spatter evidence in question, like that from the headboard and the blinds, had been collected months after the incident, and emergency personnel had walked all over the scene. In fact, the defense suggested that EMTs may have been responsible for some of the blood spatter. The defense also argued that the blood could have been cast off by Dr. Neulander himself when he pulled off his long-sleeve shirt that had become wet and bloody as he tried to frantically save his wife's life. The defense also made the case that there may have been a good reason behind Leslie's fall on the morning of her death. She suffered from vertigo, a dizziness disorder. Leslie's personal trainer testified that Leslie's condition had grown worse shortly before her death, and Leslie's sister, Joanne London Leslie, corroborated that fact that when she testified that the vertigo ran in their family and that she herself suffered from the condition. To bolster their case as an accidental death, the defense hired Dr. Daniel Spitz, a medical examiner from Michigan who had presided over numerous traumatic head injury deaths. Dr. Spitz testified that in his expert opinion, Leslie's massive head wound was the result of her falling in the shower against the stone bench. But the prosecution countered that Leslie suffered at least 2 blows to the skull, and that the head wounds were not consistent with her head striking a straight edge like a stone shower bench. Further, Leslie's other injuries, abrasions, scrapes of the skin on her cheeks, bruising on her nose, and bruising and scrapes on her neck, did not add up to a simple slip and fall. If she slipped and fell in the shower, she should have also suffered injuries to her back, her legs, her knees, and elbows, which were not apparent on the body at the time of her death. Leslie's time of death was also in dispute. Dr. Spitz estimated that Leslie died around 7:30 a.m., but the DA made the case that her death could have occurred as early as 4:15 a.m., fitting their theory of a pre-dawn assault. The final person to testify at Robert's trial was his daughter, Jenna. Now 25 years old, Jenna tearfully described the events that took place around her mother's death. She told the jury that she was with her mom in Leslie's bedroom until 2 a.m., and that she clearly remembers the sheets on her mother's bed that night, which were the same sheets that were captured in the death scene photos, and not the sheets the housekeeper claimed she had changed the previous Friday. The most critical aspect of Jenna's testimony centered on an exclamation she made during her 911 call, where she said, "Oh my God, there's blood everywhere." Both sides argued that her statement was key to supporting their respective cases. The prosecution theorized that as Jenna was running into the bathroom, she passed a trail of blood at the entrance of the bathroom and on the bedroom wall that could not yet exist unless Robert Neulander had attacked Leslie earlier in the bedroom and then staged her body in the shower. Further, the DA claimed that Jenna did not reference her mother in her statement, which should have reflected what she was seeing. "Oh my God, my mother's bleeding. My mother's on the ground." But the defense countered that the 911 call proved Dr. Neulander's innocence, that when Jenna ran into the bathroom, there was no blood on the walls yet. Jenna was asked on the stand, "Did you see blood on your way to the water closet?" To which she responded, "No," supporting the notion that the declaration about the blood everywhere was made as she was looking at her mother. Jenna also testified that as her father was tending to her mother in the bedroom, she saw him take off a blood-soaked shirt and throw it to the side, which supports the defense claim that Robert's shirt could have caused some of the blood spatter in the bedroom. Curiously, Robert's shirt has never been found. After 8 grueling days of testimony, the jury deliberated the case for 3 days and returned a guilty verdict for the second-degree murder and evidence tampering. 4 months later, the Neulanders returned to court for sentencing. The court heard for the first time from Robert Neulander when he made his pre-sentencing statement. Quote, "My head is unbowed by the verdict of this court, for an innocent man has been wrongfully convicted. I would not and did not take a life. I love my wife Leslie very much, and I mourn her every day, now and forever." Facing a maximum sentence of 25 years to life, the judge sentenced Robert Neulander to 20 years to life in New York State Prison. After his conviction, Robert surrendered his medical license. Immediately thereafter, the Neulander children hired attorney Gerald Shargel, legendary for his defense of mob boss John Gotti, to handle their father's appeal. Shargel wasted absolutely no time calling for a hearing to throw out Robert's conviction, alleging there was serious juror misconduct by a 23-year-old juror named Joanna Lorraine. According to an alternate juror, Joanna had received texts and other communications about the case throughout the trial, which was against Judge Miller's orders. A search of her phone confirmed that she'd received prejudicial texts, including one from her father that read, "Make sure he's guilty." But weeks later, the judge upheld Dr. Neulander's conviction, pointing out that the juror had been undecided in the early stages of deliberations, and in the end, he said she took her role as a juror seriously. 4 years later, on October 22nd, 2019, the New York State Court of Appeals set aside 68-year-old Robert Neulander's conviction and granted him a new trial due to juror misconduct. It turns out Joanna Lorraine exchanged 7,000 text messages with family and friends during the original 3-week trial. Among the stream of texts, hundreds of messages involved aspects of the case, which was a clear violation of the judge's orders to not discuss the matter until the trial was over. And another potential violation of the judge's instructions, the 23-year-old cheerleading coach at the time of the trial also visited websites of news organizations that were closely covering the case. When questioned about her behavior, she lied, doctored some text messages, deleted others, and cleared her internet browsing history. While she acknowledged that she had violated the judge's instructions, she did not say why she had done so. She claimed that none of the texts had affected her deliberations. Following the Court of Appeals ruling, the Anaconda County DA's office stated that they were fully intending to retry Robert Neulander for the murder of his wife. 7 years after his first murder trial, Robert Neulander was retried in March of 2022 to determine once again if his wife Leslie died from a slip and fall in the shower or if she'd been brutally beaten by her enraged husband, who purportedly staged her death as a tragic accident. During this second trial, the prosecution introduced photographic evidence of Leslie's head tissue collected from the headboard in the bedroom, which helped prosecutors to explain why Robert was guilty of murdering his wife beyond a reasonable doubt. After nearly 3 weeks of witness testimony and arguments by the defense and prosecution, the jury unanimously reached a guilty verdict, this time in less than 6 hours. Robert Neulander was once again sentenced to 20 years to life in the state prison of Anaconda County, with a credit of 3 years for time served. Robert will be in his mid-80s before he can appear before the parole board if he lives that long. Apparently, the now 71-year-old Robert suffers from kidney complications and is in frail health. My sources for this story include showbizcorner.com, Who is Dr. Robert Neulander and What Happened with His Syracuse, New York Case? Wife Killer Was Arrested After Decades by Rashmi Shrestha, 4/17/22. The New York Times, After Juror Exchanges 7,000 Texts, Murder Verdict is Overturned by Ed Shanahan, 10/31/19. CBS 48 Hours, Accident or Murder, Investigating the Death of Leslie Neulander by Jim Axelrod, 11/16/19. CBS 48 Hours, Can a Daughter's Frantic 911 Call Convict or Free Her Father from Charges That He Killed His Wife? Produced by Lourdes Aguilar, Alien Alter, Ruth Chenetz, and Peter Shaw, 4/16/22. Syracuse.com, 5 Things You Need to Know About Robert Neulander's Second Murder Trial That Starts Today by Douglas Dowdy, 2/28/22. And finally, Syracuse.com, Robert Neulander's Last Request, Let Me Die Surrounded by My Family by Ann Hayes, 5/2/22. So, Victoria, what are your impressions?
This case makes me so angry. It really is just such a travesty of justice. It was this the second we first started talking about it, even before I was reading your fantastic write-up, Sandy. Thank you for that. He's not guilty. He is not guilty. He's not guilty. Like, he's not fucking guilty. This really is upsetting me. So let's talk logistics. Okay. First of all, you commit a murder, crime of passion, right? Your daughter's home. She has been in your your wife's bedroom till 2 a.m. What happened at 4 a.m.? Like, seriously, like, what could have possibly happened at 4 a.m. to spark some sort of argument that spurred this guy with zero track record of being violent to murder his wife so gruesomely, right? Then wait a few hours, go for a run, come back, make her a fucking cup of coffee, right? I mean, that's a detail that, okay, so I was honing in on this cup of coffee thing, right? And apparently this cup of coffee thing is a big deal. And it's a big deal because when the paramedics got there, one testified that it was still warm to the touch. Okay, so it was made when Neulander came back from his run. There was no blood spatter on the coffee cup. Well, guess what? There's no blood spatter on the iPad. There's no blood spatter on the glasses. There's no blood spatter on the coaster. So why is there blood spatter there? So basically, because there's no blood spatter on the coffee, it was deemed that it was put there after she was already dead, right? So like it's like a void, right? Because there were 2 water bottles behind the coffee cup, and there was also a lamp there, and those showed the lampshade showed blood spatter. Okay, so it's just ridiculous to me to suppose that this guy who is just basically gone out of his mind, no history of abuse, no history. Like, this woman was beloved in her community, right? She was easygoing, she was outgoing, she was an extrovert. That's not battered wife. That's not battered wife, right? Women who are battered draw in. And you're telling me his daughter was home, he commits this horrible murder, right? Supposedly. And there's the entire family is standing behind him and going, no, he was a wonderful man, right?
Plus, he was an obstetrician and gynecologist.
Exactly.
So he was about giving life. He was about giving life.
Exactly,
not
exactly. You know, his whole demeanor had for his entire career been compassion. That's what he was known for. So suddenly he turns into a Mr. Hyde because he and his wife have a strained relationship now that he's home all the time. So ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. So the cup of coffee, right? So he goes out on this run and he gets rid of bed sheets supposedly that have never been found and a murder weapon that have so he's running with bed sheets. I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's so fucking ridiculous.
Plus, he is in his 60s at this point. So imagine like trying to run with bed sheets.
He's running with bloody bed sheets, but the blood doesn't soak through, right? So he bludgeons her or whatever, right? These bloody bed sheets that he's then got to get rid of, throw them in the river, but the blood doesn't soak through to the mattress pad. Really? Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Like the coffee cup for me is the clincher because it is such a detail that someone who would wake up and bring his wife coffee was sort of their ritual, right? Why not just come back from the run and say, I heard her, if you did commit the murder, right? Why not just come back from the run and say, I heard the shower running and I checked on her and she had fallen and she was dead. Why make up this whole other thing, right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So then, Sans, do you want to say something?
No, I was just curious about the coffee cup. I did not read about that detail. So are you saying that the coffee cup did not have blood spatter on it?
Coffee cup did not have blood spatter on it, but I'm going to explain why.
Okay.
I'm going to explain why. Okay.
You got me on pins and needles over that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a diagram of their bedroom. Okay. So the shower is here, right? So he's got to take her out, right? And he's headed towards the light. Where's the light going to be? It's going to be close to the window, right? He's carrying her. She has long, curly hair. He's swinging her around. Where do I put her down? Where do I put her down? Right? He's in an absolute panic. If you look at the blood spatter, it's watery. It's watery, right? How did that piece of fat from her skull get on the headboard? He was swinging her around, trying to look for where can I put her down? Should I put her down in the bed? I shouldn't put her down in the bed. I should put her right next to the bed where there's light. See, there's fucking light from these and light from here. So he's swinging her around, right? These were drawn up, which is why they initially missed the blood spatter on the blinds. It wasn't because that's where he bludgeoned her. It was that they were down because she was asleep and he needed light, so he pulled them up. Like, it's so stupid. Imagine, right? Carrying a mop, all right? Mop's wet, right? You're carrying a mop in your arms, right? And you have to go put the mop, like, have that as a double for her. Water spraying everywhere, right? Bloody water is spraying everywhere. This woman fell in the shower. She fell in the shower. He tried to save her. The blood spatter is easily explained if he's carrying a woman with long curly hair that's soaking wet. She'd been in the shower. She's soaking wet. She obviously bled out in the shower, and head wounds bleed like crazy, right? So all of the blood spatter that I saw, all of the photos from the crime scene that I saw that showed blood spatter, wasn't like, you normally see on like suicide, right? Where it's like dark droplets. It's watery. And it's watery for a reason, because he was trying to find a space where he could work on her, where he could see and have enough light. The bathroom, as far as I can tell, has no windows. So of course the light's not going to be good enough. And that's a cramped space, that shower. So he'd want to go out here, right? To there where there's light and work on her for CPR. So if he's got her in his arms and he's trying to figure out where to go, the spray is going to miss the coffee cup but hit things taller, which is exactly what it did. It hit the water bottles that were higher than the coffee cup up here and the lampshade. It just missed it because that's where he's swinging her. His hold on her, where her head is above that plane. I don't, this poor man, paid for this expensive defense. And I don't know why they didn't get someone wet and put ketchup in her hair and recreate it, because it to me explains everything. There is nothing in the ether around this guy's guilt. Nothing. There's nothing in his behavior. There's nothing in his background. There's nothing in her behavior. There's nothing in her background to say that they had a physical dynamic in there. Well, not like physical combative. And his daughter was standing there describing it, describing what he's doing. Put her down. He's panicking. He's trying to be like clinical, but he's also panicking. This is his wife and she's dead.
Yeah.
So I really feel for this whole family. I feel for this guy. I feel for the whole family. It's so obvious to me he didn't murder her. It's just so obvious. I'm on a roll. Go ahead.
Well, I was curious. Do you think that he'll be, no.
I think he's out of appeals, unfortunately. And I think that his defense was really lacking. For me, it's just so easily explained just from her wet hair. She had hair like down to here and it was curly down to here. So it was much longer when it was wet. And if he's doing this with her, that hair is flying, spatter is flying. It's just so easily explained. I'm like angry, I'm frustrated. You want to see guilty people go to prison, but you don't want to see people
gentle,
who were
innocent
convicted
man.
on one perspective of blood spatter, go to prison. I just think it's really sad. I really do. These people had a decent marriage. They were married for 20 years. Of course they were strained because he's now, he used to work crazy long hours and now he's home all the time. That's going to put a strain on any marriage. You change the dynamic. It doesn't mean that he's going to beat the shit out of her and kill her. So
do you think he'll die in prison then?
Yeah, I do, which is really, really a shame. Like, it's really, really a shame. Yeah, I don't see him getting off. He just feels locked in there. And I do believe his health is in really poor decline, but his name will forever be ruined. And it's just, I don't know why this detective just decided the guy had to do it when it's just, for me, it's easily explained. I don't know. I wasn't at the trial. Maybe there's more evidence that I'm not seeing, but there's nothing about this case that reads violent murder energetically. There's no there, like, at all. And the coffee is like, to me, that's the clincher, because that is just a detail too far for someone who's committed that kind of a crime. And where are his defensive wounds, right? So he's beaten the shit out of her, apparently, and he's unscathed. Really? She wasn't a small woman, where's anything, scratches, anything on him? Nothing. There's nothing. And her wounds aren't and her wounds aren't defensive wounds. They're just wounds. So you can't imagine a head hitting some bitch twice. I can.
Yeah.
You know,
bounced. Yeah.
You know, not to be too graphic, but yeah, to me, it's so obvious that it was a terrible, tragic accident. And it's just really a shame that he got blamed for it, because he didn't do it. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. But you feel the same way too, right, Sans?
Yeah, I feel like he was railroaded, and I think that the community kind of turned its back on him.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted him to be guilty of taking someone from the community that was beloved.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's a shame.
Right.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, exactly. When you put it together with, she has a history of vertigo. Her trainer said it had gotten worse. Vertigo is always going to be worse in the morning. When you get up, when you first get up, your blood pressure drops. The coffee itself was basically untouched. He put cream in it and sugar. I mean, that's the other thing, is like, this was coffee prepared lovingly, not grudgingly. It's just one detail too far for a guy who has committed a crime of passion. He's not going to pause and make coffee. He's going to come back from his run and be like, I heard the shower running and she was dead. Yeah. He's not going to make up this whole thing about bringing her coffee, and then he hears the shower turn on and it's been an hour, and it's been an hour, and he goes in and checks on her. There's truth in that. There is truth in that. So I don't think he's the criminal mastermind that he's been made out to be at all. Yeah. Which is really unfortunate. So,
okay.
Them's my thoughts.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. So next week is the final for this year in the Men Behaving Badly saga, right? So it'll be about Larry Rudolph, who was a dentist on safari with his wife. And
yeah, can't wait to dig into that one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. Yeah.
And then I'm gonna try and dive into some fan requests. So
cool. Fantastic.
To finish out the year.
So we got some good stuff coming up.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah. we could use some decent stuff to kind of focus on. All right. Well, Sunday. Thank you. This was a terrific case to bring me. I am just frustrated that, I feel like justice was absolutely not served in this case. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I don't think you're wrong either. I think, gut instincts are like, on point. Everybody remember to vote on Tuesday. If you haven't already, I'm voting on Tuesday. Are you voting on Tuesday, or did you already vote?
No, for whatever reason, I thought I was going to vote early. And then when I realized what date I don't know what day it is anymore. That's my biggest problem. So I will be voting on Tuesday.
Cool. Yeah. I wanted to do it on Tuesday. I didn't want to vote early. I wanted to make a statement. So anyway, vote once, but only once. And otherwise have a wonderful week. I love you, Sandy, so much. Thank you.
Love you. And if you want to learn more.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey. So I know what I forgot to mention. So I was on a podcast last week. I got invited onto this fantastic podcast. It's called Tell Me About Your Father. And you can find it on Spotify and Apple. And Aaron and Matt are the two hosts, and they could not have been more wonderful. Their questions were fantastic. So I read for Matt prior to recording the session. And his father came in. His father has recently passed away, and made lots of fun of his son, which I found delightful. And we talk about, on the show, the complicated relationships that we have with our fathers. Sandy and I had a very complicated relationship with, I didn't, he was a jerk, so bye. He was really not a good guy. Anyway, it was just a wonderful experience to be on their show. They asked just some fantastic questions about how it works for me, how the mediumship works for me. glimpses of the other side, questions, that I could answer for them. It was just wonderful. So if you get a chance to check out, tell me about your father. Tell me about your father on Spotify and Apple. Might even be on YouTube. I'm not sure, but if you Google it, you'll come to like the whole list of their podcasts, and they've had some really fascinating, amazing guests. So it was just an honor and a privilege. So. And if you want to learn more about me or sign up for a session with me, you can go to victorialaurie.com. I will post a link in the description below on YouTube. So anyway, thanks, Ains. Thanks for the reminder. Love you, love you, love you. Okay, keeping me honest. And we'll see you soon. Okay, bye.